Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. If you have never watched any of my videos before, my name is Laura, and a few years ago I spent 10 months as an exchange student in Texas in the USA. Today I am going to recap my experience as an exchange student and tell you all of the things that I wish I would have known before studying abroad in the United States. So without further ado, let's get right on into this video. The first thing I wish I had known before studying abroad was that I would have to start from zero. Obviously, you know that you can only really take one piece of luggage and a backpack, and you're already worried about not having enough clothing, but with all the superficial stuff in your head, you sometimes forget that you also have to start from zero when it comes to any sort of human relationship, when it comes to the small things that you do in your daily life. And that's something I never really fully considered before leaving for my exchange adventure. So as I said, the hardest thing is probably to start from scratch when it comes to human relationships. It is going to take a lot of time to make friends, to get used to your host family and to your daily life. However, the thing I also did not think about at all was learning how to operate in your daily life, like how to turn on the lights, how to, I don't know, open up doors, like the door handles might be differently, how to handle AC units, how to make food because you don't know how the appliances in the kitchen are working, and depending on which, you know, country you're going to, these things might be super different from what you are used to, and it is something that catches you quite off guard because you do, you know, think you know how to turn the lights on, but when the switches look completely different and are placed in super different positions than what you're used to, this becomes super hard. The second thing I wish I had known before starting my study abroad adventure was that it is actually quite hard to make friends. You feel like, you know, you're an exchange student and you're the new person, everybody is going to be super interested in you, and it's going to be like in the movies where the new girl, you know, has friends after the first lunch break. It isn't quite like that. I mean, a lot of people are going to be super interested in you and you are going to have something to talk about right away, and a lot of people will show interest in you. However, it takes a lot more to actually form friendships where you actually, you know, hang out after school. It is going to take a lot of proactiveness coming from your side of you actually, you know, taking the step forward and asking people to hang out and introducing yourself and, you know, talking, finding talking points and asking questions and stuff like that. And you are going to have to give yourself some time. Friends are usually not made in a single day, so it is going to take a few weeks before, you know, you have a kind of a friend group, and it might even take a few more weeks before you actually start hanging out one-on-one. So give yourself some time. It is something that I never really considered how long it would actually take, but it is totally normal to not have a full set of friends after a couple of weeks. The third thing I wish I had known before studying abroad in the United States was that sports are actually super tough. I joined the volleyball team right away when I got to the high school, which is something I definitely recommend because it actually got me in touch with a lot of people I didn't have classes with, kept me busy, it kept me, you know, moving, it kept the endorphins coming, so that was super good. However, the Americans are quite serious when it comes to school sports, so I would work out about 4 hours a day for volleyball practice and just general athletics in school, so they would not mess around. The weight room exercises were super heavy. I had to lift heavier weights than I ever had before. I had to run more and faster than I ever had before. So if I had known how hard it was going to be, I definitely would have prepared. I would have gone to my local gym, started lifting weights. I would have, you know, definitely spent a lot more time running in my free time just to kind of get myself up to the same standard as the other American students were. And so that's definitely something to consider if you do want to join a sports team, which I recommend you do. Just, you know, maybe go for runs sometimes and maybe try and lift some weights just to prepare yourself. The fourth thing that I wish I would have known before studying abroad was that it is so important to make sure that you know the local rules, especially if you are going to a conservative area like I did in Texas in the United States of America, because in a small town in Texas there are so many expectations of how you should behave in public that I just wasn't used to coming from Germany. And so videos on my channel, I have one for example on how to survive life in the South that is very useful for this kind of a topic. I also have a video on dating and stuff like that, so just go ahead and check out the videos on my channel. There are definitely a lot that you will find concerning this topic because this was a huge thing for me. I don't think I've ever heard the word appropriate more in my life than in my time in Texas. There are a lot of things that are considered appropriate and not appropriate and things that you shouldn't do. So there's a whole long list of unspoken rules that I had no idea about when I came to the United States, and I think it would have been so useful to know some of these rules beforehand. Thing number 5 that I wish I had known is that you are going to struggle leaving your home country and coming back to it. You're kind of so excited about starting your exchange year that you don't really think about the moment that you're actually going to leave, and I was never much of a homesick person, so it actually kind of surprised me how hard it was to leave my parents behind at the airport and how hard it was to not get homesick afterwards. I also have a homesickness video on this channel, so if you are currently feeling homesick or if you're worried about feeling homesick, then definitely watch that as well. But what I also didn't expect was how I would be feeling when I had to leave. You know, you're always sitting there, you know, especially when you are homesick and in your target country, you're like looking forward to the moment you're returning home, when you're seeing your family and all of your friends again. But when that moment actually comes and it's time to leave, you know, the United States or whichever country you're staying in or doing your study abroad year in, it's actually really hard again, especially because at that point in time you never know like whether you're going to see those people again, how long it's going to be before you see them again. So, and the whole reverse culture shock is also a big thing. So it is definitely hard in both ways, but also definitely worth it and part of an experience that is going to make you grow and make you stronger. Connected to that is the 6th thing that I wish I had known before, and it is that the last 3 months or so of your exchange year are usually the best. So, you know, sometimes the beginning is very exciting but also hard. So you are going to probably have the most exciting time in the beginning because everything is super new and you're learning new things every single day. But it's also tough, you know, because you have to make friends and everything. Then you have this middle bit, especially around Christmas time, a lot of people get homesick and, you know, you feel like you've been there for such a long time, but you maybe haven't made the progress that you wanted to, or maybe there's just seems like such a long way before you get to go back home. So that's usually a downtime for a lot of people. But I feel like around the time of spring break is when I actually started to have the best time of my entire exchange year. That's the point in time where I had made, you know, really good friends and where I knew my way around. I really enjoyed school a lot more. I knew how to operate my daily life, and, you know, I just had the most fun. I probably did the most activities, went out the most, and spent a lot of time with friends and everything like that, and I felt super comfortable and super at home. So that was probably the best time, which is also why it is then so hard to leave again. But, you know, if you are maybe struggling at the 6 months mark or anything like that, or maybe even in the beginning, just know that the best part of your exchange year is still coming up. The 7th thing that I really didn't know or considered before leaving for the US was that there's always going to be a language barrier when you are an exchange student. So I started learning English in 3rd grade, and by the time I left for the United States, I thought my English was pretty good. I was able to, you know, communicate most of what I wanted to communicate. I didn't really think about a language barrier, but when I got to the United States, I learned very quickly that there was so much vocabulary that I was missing, starting with things in the kitchen, for example, or things at school I just didn't know the vocab to, or when I was playing volleyball, there were so many things I didn't know, and so that led to a lot of confusion. A lot of time I was, you know, lost for words. So even if you do know the language pretty well when you're starting out, in your daily life you're going to experience a lot of vocabulary that you don't know, but don't worry about it, you're going to pick it up so quickly living in that country, so you are going to be fine. Just expect that you're not going to know all of the words to everything you need. The thing number 8 that I wish I had known before studying abroad is that there are going to be stereotypes that you are going to be confronted with that will really hurt you. Me coming from Germany, obviously we have, you know, quite a complicated history, especially with the 2 world wars. I was confronted with that a lot during my exchange year. There were, you know, people, not a lot of people, I must say. Most people were super nice, but a few people who would use signs, for example, that are actually prohibited here in Germany because they are connected to the Nazi regime. And I actually had one incident where a guy, it was actually a friend of a friend's father, told me that I was a Nazi, and and he had met me like 2 minutes ago. We had barely said hello, and right away he was like, you're a Nazi because you're from Germany and there's no way you can change my mind, even though we hadn't had any sort of conversation at all. He didn't even know who I was, what kind of a person I was, and it really hurt me because, you know, coming from Germany, we're super sensitive to that topic because we are obviously, you know, very educated on that and have seen a lot of, you know, footage from back then and seen all the horrible things that were done to people back then, and to be kind of just thrown into that category that you never want to belong to by someone who doesn't even know you and who doesn't even give you the chance to prove yourself that you're actually a decent human being really hurt. So some people don't even mean it in a bad way and make jokes about it, but you know, there are going to be things that people say that really hurt you and they don't realize that they hurt you, or maybe they do and they just don't care. So you are going to be confronted with a bunch of stereotypes from your own home country. Number 9 is somewhat connected to that, but not really, is that there are going to be people who dislike you. You know, you think you're a nice person, you're just wanting to get along with everybody. You are still going to offend a lot of people, whether that's because you don't know all of the cultural rules, whether that's because, you know, you maybe aren't able to express something that you wanted to express in the right way, maybe it came across weird because, you know, the language isn't your first language, or maybe it's just because you became friends with someone who already had a best friend and who is now scared of losing that best friend, or you had some guy had a crush on you that another girl liked or something. There's always something that makes people dislike you, even though you maybe have never talked to them or anything before. So as in your life back home, not everybody is going to like you, and that is going to be the same during your study abroad as an exchange student. So, you know, just expect that. And the last thing I wish I had known before I started my study abroad adventure and during is that in the end, it is all going to be fine and you are going to be okay. There are a lot of amazing moments, there are a lot of tough moments, there are a lot of moments when you think you need to go home, when you can't take this anymore, when you don't know how things are going to go on, and it is just really important to know that no matter what happens, you're always going to be fine. You are so likely to leave this exchange year and to be so grateful. Now it has been 6 years for me since I left the United States, and I'm extremely grateful. I've had a lot of tough moments, but I would never change them for anything. I've learned so much, I've grown so much, and I'm okay, you know? I've went through all that I've went through, and I've come out the other end older, feeling older and more grown up. I've definitely collected a lot of experiences and memories, and I'm okay. So you are going to be too. Don't worry too much. As always, if you need any advice, there's a lot of this floating around on this channel, so definitely check my other videos out. If you also don't want to miss out on any of my future videos, make sure to hit the notification bell as well as the subscribe button. If you have any sort of questions at all or any sort of topics that you would like me to talk about and share my wisdom and experience about, leave those down in the comments below. I would be so happy to make those for you guys. And now I have nothing left to say but to thank you guys so much for watching and taking the time out of your day to support this channel. See you guys in next week's video. Bye!